If you could only choose one ETF for your portfolio, what would it be? A US-focused ETF like the S&P 500 or a globally diversified one like the FTSE All-World, or a third option? In this video, we'll break it down for you, looking at performance diversification and long-term benefits of each. Let's dive in. What is the S&P 500? The S&P 500 tracks the largest 500 companies in the US. These are the household names dominating the tech, healthcare, and financial sectors. But here's the catch. It's entirely US-centric. Now let's look at the other side. What is FTSE All-World? The FTSE All-World ETF offers exposure to over 4,000 companies across the globe. While the US market makes up a significant portion of it, you're also investing in Europe, Asia, and emerging markets. At the first step of this comparison, let's look at the average return that these two indexes had over the last 20 years. And let's look at which index performed better in these years. This table shows the 20-year average annual return for S&P 500 and FTSE All-World indices. The S&P 500 returned 13% and the FTSE All-World returned 10.5% in GBP terms. Adjust for UK inflation, which is 2.82% in this period, the real return dropped to 9.89% and 7.10% respectively, highlighting the impact of inflation on long-term investment. To understand it better, now let's assume that you had £10,000 and you have invested that in FTSE versus S&P 500 20 years ago. What was the ending result for you in 2024? This chart compares the performance of these two portfolios, the S&P 500, the red one, and the FTSE All-World Index, represented as blue, from 2004 to 2024. Starting point, both portfolios begins with £10,000. As we said, we can see that initially both perform similarly, with the FTSE All-World, the blue one here, that we see it shows slightly stronger growth early on. However, the S&P 500 takes over around 2014 in this area and consistently outperforms the world index afterwards, as we can see in this chart. Both portfolios experienced some downturns, notably during 2008 financial crisis and the 2020 the market crash that we have at this point during the COVID time. But what we can see is that S&P 500 shows stronger recovery each time. Now if we look at the ending result, we can see that starting with 10K, both of these portfolios, the S&P 500 ended with above 108K, while the world index reached just above 73K. Over the 20-year period, the S&P 500 delivers significantly higher returns, highlighting its stronger growth potential compared to the FTSE All-World Index. So the question here is that, does it mean we should always choose the US index over the world index? Not necessarily. And here's why. The FTSE All-World Index performs more steadily during the US-specific downturns. For instance, during the 2008 financial crisis, non-US markets helped cushion the blow. The second thing is the market cycles, which is an essential part of each investing. While the US has dominated in recent years, history shows the leadership shifts over time. Investing globally ensures you capture the next big growth regions, whether that's emerging markets or non-US economies. This diagram visually demonstrates the cyclical nature of US versus global market performance over time. The bottom half of the diagram represents the periods where the world index outperformed the US. The top half represents periods where the US market delivered better performance. For the past 13.6 years, the US has outperformed, but history suggests these cycles eventually reverse. This is why maintaining global diversification is key to capturing opportunities across different market cycles. Now that we compare these two types of indices, world versus US, let's take a closer look at the ticker symbols or ETFs you can find in your investment apps. These ETFs make it easy to track and invest in these indices across different markets like the US, UK, and Europe. Here's how they stack up. For those looking to invest globally, there are several ETFs tracking world indices such as the FTSE All-World or the MSCI All-Country World Index, ACWI. These indices represent a broad spectrum of global equity markets and a great option for diversification. Here you can see some famous ETF providers from Vanguard, iShares, and others. In this table, you can see the US tickers and also UK and EU ticker in two different approach. But why? For UK and EU ETFs, you will typically see these two type symbols. One is the accumulating ETF version or ACC shortly, which automatically reinvests dividends back into the fund, allowing your investment to grow faster through compounding. Another type of the ETFs that you can usually find in these markets like UK and EU are the distributing ETFs or shortly DIST, which pays dividends directly to you as cash, which you can spend or reinvest manually. At the final column, also you can see the exchanges where you can buy and sell these ETFs. Now, on the other hand, if you're focused on the US market, the S&P 500 index is one of the most widely followed indices, representing the top 500 companies in the US. Here you can see some of the key ETFs were available for S&P 500. You can find these ticker symbols in your investment applications and choose the one that is suitable for you. Now let's have a final overview. The S&P 500 is concentrated in the US market, which can be strength through the strong US growth, but a weakness when other markets outperform. The FTSE World gives you global diversification, reducing reliance on any one country's economy, which could make it better choice for long-term stability. So, which one you choose? World Index, US Index, or something else? Let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Smarter investing. See you next time.